Hello, it's Claudio, and in this Python tutorial we will learn how to create a list of numbers from 1 to n in Python. In the first example, we will use the range function. We will pass the number 10 to the range function and then pass the result of the range function to the list function. We then store the final result in the numbers variable. You can see that we have a list that goes from 0 to 9. In this first example, we have passed a single argument to the range function. The range function also allows passing two arguments that define the beginning and the end of the range. Let's update our code to set the start argument to the value 1 and the stop argument to the value 11. As you can see, the numbers list we obtain now goes from 1 to 10. You can also use a while loop to print numbers from 1 to n. And maybe this is not the best approach, considering that the one we have seen before is quite concise. At the same time, it's quite useful as a developer to know how to solve a problem in multiple ways. To print a list of numbers from 1 to n using a Python while loop, you can set a numeric variable to 1 outside of the while loop. This is the variable number. Then, inside the while loop, you print the variable and increase its value by 1 at every iteration. The condition of the while loop checks that the value of the variable number is less or equal to n. In this case, the value of n is 10. You can see that the numbers are printed 1 in each line. How can we change our code if we want to print a list instead? First of all, we create an empty list called numbers outside of the while loop. And then in the while loop, we use the append method to add every number to the list. We can also use a for loop to create a list of numbers from 1 to n in Python. We are also using the range function. The start argument passed to the range function is equal to 1, and the stop argument passed to the range function is equal to n plus 1. We are expecting a list of numbers that goes from 1 to 10. Now let's assume we don't want each number to be printed on a different line. Instead, we want each number separated from the next one using a comma. To do that, we can pass an extra argument to the print function inside the for loop. After our change, we can see comma-separated numbers. The only problem is that we can see a comma after the number 10, that is the last one in the list. So how can we remove this comma? We can add an if statement inside the for loop that doesn't print the comma if the value of the variable number is 10. A more advanced way to create a list of numbers from 1 to n in Python is using a list comprehension. A list comprehension is a Python construct that generates a list. In the list comprehension, we use the range function, and the result of the list comprehension is stored in the variable numbers. If you want to learn more about list comprehension, have a look at the description of this video. I've included a link to a tutorial about list comprehensions. The last thing we will cover in this tutorial is how to create a custom function to generate a list of numbers from 1 to n. We define a function that takes a single parameter called n. You can see that the implementation of this function is the same that we've used at the beginning of this tutorial to calculate a list of numbers from 1 to n using the list function and the range function. The advantage of using a custom function is that we can simply pass any number we want, and the function will return the correct list of numbers from 1 to n. Here you can see that we are getting back the list of numbers from 1 to 10, from 1 to 50, and from 1 to 100. In this Python tutorial, we'll see lots of different ways to write a program that creates a list of numbers from 1 to n. Like this video if you found it useful, And subscribe to CodeFather if you want to continue growing as a Python developer. Also, if you are getting started with Python, have a look at the step-by-step tutorial I have included in the description below. Thank you again and see you in the next video.